Hello, everyone, and welcome to Inside the Newsroom. I'm Maddie Paul. Inside the Newsroom, we bring you the trending stories of the KELOLAND area right to your screen, and we also bring in our newsroom staff to give you an exclusive look at how we put our stories together. But first, let's start with our trending stories of the week. Up first, for the first time, we're hearing from the victim of a case that we've been following since 2023. Last year, former Sioux Falls counselor Roy Conrad pled guilty to 2 counts of sexual penetration, and now a woman is sharing her story about the abuse she experienced for more than 3 years.
Hard thing to explain and obviously go through. It has many, many layers. A lot of people don't realize that trauma is also a grieving process.
Up next, a 10th inmate has died in the Department of Corrections custody this year. The South Dakota Department of Corrections says 42-year-old Nicholas Skorka died on Tuesday. The Attorney General office says the DCI is investigating the death and an autopsy is set for today. And authorities on the Cheyenne River Reservation are looking into the deaths of 2 people. Cheyenne River Sioux Tribe law enforcement say a 23-year-old man and a 20-year-old woman were pronounced dead. Tribal law enforcement say they're working with the FBI office to investigate these deaths. As protests continue in California, some people are questioning the federal government's military response. A reporter in Washington, D.C. had asked South Dakota Senator John Thune what he had thought.
Well, I think the issue that's in front of us right now is the chaos in L.A. And clearly the local officials there, for whatever reason, didn't seem up to the task of getting the job done there. And I think that, as Senator Wicker pointed out, it's kind of a political imperative, honestly, because one of the most fundamental questions most voters ask is my family safe? Is my neighborhood safe? Is my community safe? Is my country safe?
Traveling back to Sioux Falls now, officials want drivers to be more friendly by zebra merging. In construction zones where one lane ends, drivers should stay in whichever lane they're in until they reach the merge point. Then they should take turns letting cars from the closing lane in.
What I see happening, we aren't the best drivers in Sioux Falls. I will just say it. People see it's a race and they almost try to not let people in. Let people in. When they see a lane closed ahead and they see someone driving, slow down.
And now a real talking point. Last night in Sioux Falls, over 3,000 households had lost power during thunderstorms. High winds from an afternoon storm had left behind scattered branches, uprooted trees, and damaged buildings across southeast of KELOLAND. So Jordan DeSmit traveled out on a tour to take a look at the damage in northwest Iowa.
A relatively calm day turned a little chaotic in parts of northwest Iowa. In this video, you can see strong winds roll through Oshedon. About 20 miles west, a viewer sent us footage of dust kicking up in the air. The storm scattered branches and caused structure damage. In Rock Rapids, the winds were so strong that it uprooted this tree and damaged a home. It also halted progress on this building and was the reason behind a tree falling onto a garage. There was also evidence of high winds in Little Rock.
It was a mess when I came into town.
That was especially true at Joe Schilling's home. He and his wife were out of town when the storm hit.
We were in Sioux Falls. It's our 37th anniversary today. And we were actually at the zoo. And my neighbor called me and asked if we were home. And I said, no. And he said, well, you got a great big branch on your house.
The tree means a lot to him.
This is actually a tree that got planted when my son was in kindergarten. So it kind of means a little bit sentimental to us.
People like Schilling and Kirk Peters have been working hard to clean up.
I've been pushing trees and stuff down to the tree dump on the north end of town, and it was pretty well full, so I took my loader and just piled it all up, and they just keep coming.
So people in Little Rock and the surrounding communities will have quite the mess to clean up in the coming days. Jordan DeSmit.
You can expect more coverage on storm damage and cleanup tonight on KELOLAND News. And still to come inside the newsroom, we are taking a look at a century-old time capsule that is scheduled to be open this weekend. Stay with us. Welcome back to Inside the Newsroom. Now, one story that KELOLAND has been following for quite some time now is this mysterious time capsule that was found at a school in Minnesota. Our reporter on the digital side, Michael Dorn, is joining us now to talk a little bit about the follow-up that he has had, because, Michael, I feel like this is your story in the newsroom. Every time that we have our assignment meetings in the morning, it's always like, oh, what's Michael going to do with the time capsule today? Can you explain a little bit about how you got involved with the story about the time capsule?
Yes, absolutely. So this all started back in April, where we got a call here from one of the people on the crew that were tearing down a secondary school in Hills, Minnesota. They then contacted us and said, hey, we found a time capsule and we thought you guys might like to cover this. And we were like, yeah, we would like to cover that. So we all drew straws, and I was the one that ended up going.
And you know, what was surprising at the time was how popular that story became, and how the talk of the town became, what is inside this time capsule? What could it be? Who put it there? What was some of the reaction you heard after the story came out?
Yes, I definitely heard three main questions come out of that, and that is, when are they opening the thing? What's inside, and when are they opening the thing? So
the big three.
Yes, the big three questions I heard over and over again there, where people definitely wanted to know here, and I was so sad I couldn't provide an update here for a long time. But recently I got in contact with the superintendent of the Hills, Minnesota School District, and we talked a little bit about what their plan is for opening it, and what kind of celebration they're having for that. So,
and you know, at the time, as you were saying, we didn't know when they were opening it, because they didn't know either.
Yes.
So now we have an update that you just wrote this week. So what do we know now, Michael?
Yes, so they are finally opening this. It is confirmed. They are opening it this Saturday here on this Saturday.
We're stuck in April now.
I'm stuck in April. Yes.
Yep.
But they're opening it this Saturday here. It's a part of the Hills, Minnesota Friendship Days. So how this works is they'll be having a parade in town at around 10:30 in the morning, and the time capsule opening will be immediately after that. So then it goes to the parade and then the time capsule opening, as well as having a bunch of other festivities. I know they have a car show in town and a bunch of other events going on throughout the day there for Friendship Days as well. So it's part of this massive celebration. And another piece of this is they said all the contents and the cornerstone that it was found in as well will be donated to the Rock Valley Historical Society here as well. So that will be donated. And that'll be put in their museum in Laverne as well. So that's an interesting part of that as well, I feel.
It feels like it's going everywhere. So, Michael, we have to talk about it. What do you think is inside the time capsule?
Well, I did talk to the superintendent, and he had some ideas. I've seen it in person, but I haven't touched the thing yet, so
what a thing to brag about if you had touched it, though. Like, I got to. Okay, so what are they saying that they think is inside of it?
So that's an interesting bit of thing here. From what I've heard, he says whenever he picks it up and shakes it around a little bit, he thinks there's like a piece of felt in there, is what he says.
Oh.
But what he's expecting is some newspaper articles from the time, maybe even some photos from when the building was first built. Fun fact about this time capsule, for those who don't know, this thing is over 100 years old. So it is a very, very old time capsule here.
Wow. I think there's going to be like a letter from the old superintendent. I'm thinking a lot of like paper, something, signatures.
I'm thinking something like that too, where maybe even a photo of the class, something like
that's
that
a good one
would
too.
be in there. But yeah, another interesting story here is, as you can see here, that the cornerstone was actually, the time capsule was wedged inside that cornerstone there, that little cutout that you can see right there. That's where they found the time capsule for the demolition crews.
Insane.
But, yeah. So little story behind that is the demolition crews were called out on April 15th. And when they found that cornerstone, they carefully kind of took that out of the wall there. And then once they broke that out, they found another cutout within that cutout of a time capsule. So little interesting piece of history right there.
So, Michael, as you keep updating this story and stick around with it, what is one thing that you keep finding yourself most interested in? And then how do you keep your interest for the viewer's interests?
Well, one thing I'm definitely interested in is the history of it. I feel every time I come back to this, there's just more to know. Now we know the writing on the back of that time capsule has kind of been discovered. It was sealed by a man named Earl Eki Haba, who was an architect back then and did a lot of construction projects for the area back in the day. We now know who sealed that, who that man is, and some of his achievements as well. So it just feels like we know more and more about this every time we revisit it here. There's always more to know here.
So what's your plans? Are you going to go out on Saturday and see the opening?
I am hoping to. That is my plan at least, but we will see.
I feel like that's the perfect
to.
ending for you with this story is like you just have to at least touch it now. If you go out, then you can have the full bragging rights at that point.
Yes. I'm hoping after all the coverage we've done on this that they might let me up on stage here for the opening, but I'm not holding my breath here.
Maybe if they make a new time capsule, you can be included in it. You could sign something.
Oh, I would love that.
I'm looking at your story now, and as you had said before, once the capsule is opened, all the contents and the cornerstone will be donated to the Rock County Historical Society and will be housed in the museum in Laverne, Minnesota.
Yes.
Michael, it's really interesting to me that the preservation of this time capsule will just continue. Even though we found it, we will keep that almost like it's sacred in a way and understand that history. When you've been talking to officials with the time capsule, why has it been so important for them to keep this preservation?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I've heard is this building, this secondary school, has been in the community for a very, very long time. I mean, you don't get to be over 100 years old just because of any different reason. It's been there for a long time, and people have really come to appreciate that. I think one aspect of that too is they're finally trying to build a new school and a new environment for these kids. So they didn't really have any use for this. So it was just kind of time to say goodbye to this school here, and hopefully they can build something new. But it wasn't quite done with them yet. The school had one last surprise to give them, which I think is also a very interesting part of that as well.
Well, once again, the time capsule is going to be opened on June 14th after the Friendship Days Parade, and that parade starts at 10:30 a.m. Michael, thank you for joining me at the Digital Desk.
Thank you, Maddie.
Yes.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. And still to come on Inside the Newsroom, we are looking at a new restaurant opening up in a familiar place. Stick around. Hello and welcome back to Inside the Newsroom. Now, a new restaurant has opened up in a very familiar location. You may have heard of Rosys Cafe, but now we're going to introduce you to Rosys Tacos. Summer Roddershaw is joining us now to talk a little bit about the new restaurant and what to expect in this familiar location. Summer, welcome to the Digital Desk.
Hey, thanks for having me. First time here.
I know. Yes, the first time doing everything. And speaking of first times, we have this new restaurant opening up. Can you tell me a little bit about what you've learned about Rosys Tacos?
Yeah, so it started off as a food truck. So they had never had an actual location, but they had the food truck. And you actually know this area of town has lost a couple of restaurants recently. And so it moved into one of those old buildings. And yeah, they had their grand opening yesterday. So super exciting for them.
So did you get to eat any food?
No, but I was A, starving, but B, it smelled phenomenal. And I really am a taco person. And so I'm picky with those tacos though. And so this is the one places where I'm like, I actually think I'm going to have to go there to eat because it smelled phenomenal. We're talking about how their birria, I think I'm saying that correctly.
Sounds right.
How it's that's their specialty, and they feel like not a lot of people have tried that in this area, so they're really excited to be able to be featuring that on their menu.
Excellent. And one staple of Rosys Cafe was that they were familial. They had really close ties here to Sioux Falls, and that family aspect of it really just drove it home. And when you were speaking to the owners, what kind of ties did you find that makes Rosys Tacos so special?
So for them, and it was really interesting because of the closeness of where Rosie's Cafe was and where Rosie's Tacos is. And I was almost curious, did you end up naming this because of Rosie's Cafe so closely? But Rosie is actually the name of the owner Juan's eldest daughter. And so it's all family for them. I believe I met Juan, I met his wife, I met his youngest daughter, I met Rosie. And so family is a huge aspect to them and their business. And so when you go there, you're really getting the family meal because it's the entire family working there and making it for you.
Wow. So it really wasn't a coincidence at all.
No.
it was right there for them for a purpose.
Yeah. It was perfect and perfect timing. And when the other I'm glad they almost didn't in the exact same building because that would have been really confusing. But the closeness, so all the people that miss Rosie's Cafe, it's not Rosie's Cafe, but hey, it's Rosie's Tacos.
How cool. I don't know. That's such an interesting little thing to come to Sioux Falls. And what else did you hear from the owner? What are they hoping to bring to the Sioux Falls community with their food? What did you hear?
They really, one of the things that they want to give people is a look at that authentic Mexican food. And they really think that they have a spice and a flavor because a lot of different restaurants have their different spices, flavors, and they feel like theirs is really going to stick out. And so they're excited to introduce people in that area to it. Another thing that they're excited about is that they're bringing that restaurant to the northern side of town. There aren't too many other restaurants in that area, especially with the 2 closing. And so people aren't going to have to go all the way to downtown now to get a good taco.
Did they say anything about their location being next to the Denny Sanford Premier Center? Are they hoping for a lot of foot traffic? What did that look like?
They actually didn't mention that, but I think it has to do with that keeping everybody on the north side of town so that they don't have to go too far from like places like the Denny to get a good meal.
And you said that they were a food truck before, and now they're having their first, is this their first full-on restaurant?
This is their first full-on restaurant. They said it was always a dream, the entire family, a dream to open up their own restaurant. And so obviously they started off with a food truck and now they've graduated to a building.
And when you put together a story like this summer, what kind of visual elements were you really leaning towards for the story?
So I got to work with an awesome photographer. Her name is Ash. And so one thing that we always look for, though, is we want to see people working with the food. So like you see there, how he's working with the meat. Because when you're doing a restaurant opening, you don't really want just a bunch of like empty tables or an empty thing. We want to see people working and doing what they have to do. So yeah, we got them doing their setup. We got them filling the fridge. We got them cooking the meat. You want to see people in it, and you're seeing the family that's running it all.
It's like action shots.
Exactly.
for our movie.
Action shots are way more everybody, that's why people love action movies. It's because something's always happening. And so unless you have a story that you want to be slow, I can't imagine why. But yeah, getting those action shots in there are really important.
And with this creation of this story, Summer, what are you hoping that our viewers take away from your story?
I have a heart for family businesses and new businesses. And so I think just to let people know, hey, you may not see this on a commercial or anything like that, but there's this new restaurant in town and it might just be right up your alley, you know? I'm not trying to drive people there that don't like tacos, but hey, if you like tacos, this one might be one that's for you.
Wow. Is there anything else you'd like to share about your experience with creating this story or meeting the new owners?
All I'm saying is I might have to go back there because I'm really hungry. And like I said, it smelled phenomenal.
You need that burrito taco.
I know, seriously.
I see that online all the time, and I still have never bought one. So it's like Rosys Tacos.
Rosys Tacos.
Right there for me. And what stories are you working on today?
For today, there is a South Dakota native that is starring in a movie that's playing at the State Theater here in Sioux Falls. And so I talked with him and his mom about how he got into acting and sort of what the movie looks like. And it's really special because not only is it starring a South Dakota native, but it also stars South Dakota because it was shot and produced in the state. So yeah, that's what I'm working on for today.
Excellent. Summer, thank you for joining me at the digital desk. And still to come on Inside the Newsroom, we are looking at more stores coming to the Empire Mall. And we have another interview with one of our interns who did a really special package about this story. So stay with us. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back to Inside the Newsroom. Now, here's a newsroom secret. If you have to go somewhere, anytime, any place for a story, then you have to go. So I said that one of our interns would be coming in to do an interview about a story that he did yesterday, but he's out right now getting a story that you can watch tonight about Father's Day flowers that you can give, especially for Father's Day. Again, this is our intern Nathan that I'm talking about, and I want to show you the story that he did yesterday because more stores are coming to the Empire Mall later this year, and here's what he had found out.
The Empire Mall is adding 4 new stores and doubling the size of the current Lululemon. While many malls in the country are experiencing loss, the Sioux Falls Empire Mall is growing.
We kind of are immune to some of the things that are happening around us. We're, upper Midwest. Sioux Falls has been thriving for quite some time. Just a great place to start up a business and to be a first to market business to come to the mall.
It's always nice that store is getting a little bit bigger, and maybe the mall is sustaining what they can sustain as best they can.
Incoming stores include Hollister, Perfume Palace, and Carhartt.
I love Carhartt. I come from a family ranch, and so that is my go-to outer workwear place to shop at because the quality is so good. So for them to have a store here that's accessible that I don't have to shop online for is going to be really exciting.
The 4th store is a local tea business, Sawyer Wood Products.
This will be their first store, retail location here at the Empire. They're going by Macy's, and they're going to be opening next week. They're nearing completion. It's going to be a showroom for their fabulous wood products.
The stores are scheduled to arrive in the fall of 2025 and will occupy the previous Verizon, Journeys Kids, and Forever 21 locations. The expanded Lululemon will be in the center court.
Continues to be excitement. We've really transitioned out of some brands that were a little more tired into some really significant retail brands.
In Sioux Falls, Nathan DeGriff, KELOLAND News.
A great story from our intern, Nathan. And again, tonight on the KELOLAND newscast, you can see Nathan's story about Father's Day flowers for Father's Day. It should be pretty special. That's everything we have inside the newsroom for you today. Thank you for watching. And until next time, have a great day, everyone.